The Fintech Association of Nigeria, as part of its advocacy for a robust ecosystem, organized its Social Meet 7.0 event at the Lagos Yacht Club with the theme Strategic Readiness for 2021, which featured panelists from across the financial and technology industry. The event kicked off with the opening remark by Mr. Ade Bajomo, the president of the Fintech Nigeria and the executive director for Information, Technology and Operations, Access Bank PLC. In his remarks, he believed 2021 will offer immense opportunities for the growth and development of the fintech ecosystem.
Clearly, this year, if there's one word we all know loud and clear this year, it starts with COVID. Then in March, everybody was talking about post-COVID. Even when you go to meetings in April, May, June, people were still talking post-COVID. And people like me started correcting them. No, there's no post-COVID. Sorry. Yeah? And they look at me and think, no, by August it's gone. Sorry, we're not in December. Yeah. So now we have to be talking about a COVID world. Yeah. We have to live with it stuff. We have to avoid it. Yeah. And we have to survive it and outlive it, so to speak, really. But one thing COVID has done this year is brought in many, many words. The words everybody was talking about last year is something called digital transformation. Digital transformation, wherever you turn, digital transformation. But what COVID has done is actually tweaked that into digital acceleration. If you're still transforming, you're behind. You have to run faster and faster. And there's no better time to be digital. There's no better time to be in the fintech space than now. This is not just a space which is just about money and making money. Don't worry, that's important. This is a space that is actually driving and making a fundamental change in Africa and the world at large, really. I'm really, really excited that for once in our history, we have our people, the young ones, the not so young ones, solving our problems day in, day out. Yeah, and our role in FinTech Nigeria is simple. Yeah, it's a simple association, and you just need to look around and see the diversity here. Yeah, it's an association which has the entire ecosystem, and there's no dominant factor here. Whether it's the banks, whether it's the FinTechs, whether it's the lawyers that support the FinTechs, whether it's the tech providers that support the FinTechs, the whole ecosystem is actually here. And I'm particularly delighted to have this panel. They're going to do most of the talking, really. And it's about being practical, sharing practical insights into what they've seen this year and how next year will go, so to speak, really. My brother Tubos, who drove the BOT event last week, and there were some big insights from Lagos State, which I hope he will share with us today, really. We're talking about smart cities, smart technologies, really exciting times. Of course, everybody wants to be a piggy vest, yeah, or pay stack or whatever. So it will be great to hear some war stories along those lines as well. We can't finish this without some incumbents, who know, there's no fight between banks and fintechs. We're all in the same ecosystem. The one we should all fight is big tech. I think there's no big tech here yet. So we have to bring them in so they bring level up all again, really. And of course, Olumide, who has been a key player for several years, both as an investor and as a provider of solutions in the space. So, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I would really like us to listen to our panelists. I wish you a very safe Christmas, a Merry Christmas, and all the very best in 2021. 2021 offers a lot of opportunities for all of us, and in particular what we can do together in the association.
The event featured a panel session with Mr. Olatunbo Soalake, Special Advisor on Innovation and Technology to the Governor of Lagos State, Odunayo Eweniyi, Co-founder and Chief Operating Officer, PiggyVest, a Chief Information Officer, Stanbic IBTC Holdings Nigeria, Okechukwu Iruegbu, and the co-founder, Blue Chip Technologies Limited, Mr. Olumide Soyombo, as discussants who gave their perspective on what it would take for organizations, regulators, fintechs, and governments to win in 2021, even in the face of the impact of the COVID-19. The Chief Operating Officer, General Secretary, Vice President, and the President of the Association all spoke on the strategy, operations, and outlook for 2021.
Okay, I mean, year 2020 is a challenging year, but it's also an enabling year. I mean, I think that the pandemic is going to be a catalyst for financial inclusion. And we can see that the moment lockdown was over, the banking halls were like village markets, everybody rushing. So it means that people want to have some form of digital platform that they can do transactions on, and that obviously would improve financial inclusion. Maybe more in the urban areas, but we still have to look at how that can translate to the rural areas. But there's no doubt that, I mean, which is not just Nigeria, but globally, that the pandemic, it's been a catalyst for financial inclusion. We might not see the impact immediately, but I mean, we'll definitely see the impact. It's been challenging for fintechs. I mean, a couple of startups having challenges. I mean, infrastructure issues. I mean, so I mean, you have that on one side, but you also have the opportunities that the pandemic is creating on the other side. So I think it's a mixed grill if you look at it. I think that, I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the payment space. There's going to be a lot of opportunities with digital lending. There's going to be a lot of opportunities with InsurTech. I mean, only 2% penetration in insurance. That means that there's a huge space. I know that in our interaction with NICOM, they're looking at a fintech roadmap for the insurance sector. So how do we now use that to start redefining products? Because one of the big challenges in the insurance sector is products, micro products. I mean, and once you can redefine that, I mean, for example, you say that after 65, life insurance is there's no longer cover. HMO issues at 60 after. That's where the risk is higher. That's when people actually need those covers, and you're saying you're not available. No, it's not. So you need to start redefining those things. So if there are new products that start to address those categories of people, because you see now they say that Harvard Business School says that it's time to retirement. People are living healthier and longer, so you can't be using those parameters that were determined 100 years ago to still determine things. So I see a lot of things that are going to happen in that space, in the insurtech space too. So I also think that there's going to be a lot of activities. I mean, in terms of artificial intelligence. I mean, customer experience, because that's what differentiates one bank or one fintech from the other in terms of the services you are providing. And people are going to use data more effectively to create customer experience for their customers. So I think those are areas where we're going to see quite a lot of stuff. I think that, I mean, for us, because we're an ecosystem player, we're going to see a lot of things happening in the agri-tech space and also in the ed-tech and the health tech space, because those are areas where, of course, the pandemic exposed our limitations. So we think that there are going to be a lot of activities in those areas.
So first, I must say that for the coming year, and essentially maybe for the next 2 years of this current GovCo, we're looking at revamping engagements with members, communicating our values and our offerings to members clearly, because there's no point joining the Fintech Association and not understanding what's there for you, what's there for your organization, and all of that. I think we have been quite modest in terms of communicating the policy work and advocacy work that the organization has been involved with in the last year, and I think that with this in this coming year, we're going to be communicating that more with members, so that members understand the benefits that they get, the changes that we are working on, for their benefits behind the scenes and all of that. So there's that in terms of communicating our engagement work, our policy work, and all of that. There's also building capacity within the organization. So if you look at the activities of the last year, we had lots of webinars, lots of events, lots of knowledge sharing, and I know that one of the committees of the organization is going to be they're looking at that as a way of strengthening the organization this year. So we're going to be having lots of this knowledge sharing across organizations, that even across members, and just in terms of letting you know what's going on regulation-wise, business-wise, especially for startups amongst us that are looking to raise, that are looking to expand, that are looking to connect with with other players in the sector. So that's something I know that we're going to be working on, just in terms of strengthening our knowledge.
If you listen to the president's remark, he said that earlier this year, some people were talking about post-COVID. We are in December, and it is clear that there will be no post. We are going to be seeing a co-COVID era. So it means that we are here to live with COVID. I hope not for the very long time, but at least for now. So basically what this speaks to FinTech Nigeria's view for 2021 is the fact that we're going to see a lot of more government participation. You heard a lot from Olatubosun from the Lagos State government. We'll see a lot of government participation in 2021. We see a nation that want to do more of e-governance. At least for the first time in 2020, COVID has forced us to know that we can have virtual Federal Executive Council meetings, governors forums meeting. I think if there was anywhere we had very low adoption of digital before now, it was more in government. But we've seen that shift, and the government has adopted digital both for its collaboration and some of its engagement. We will see that move upwards in 2021 in terms of how government is doing business, how government is relating with the citizens. So we'll see more of e-government. Then we will see more of e-health. We will see more around e-commerce taking different dimension in terms of introducing new use cases. So it's going to be like an expansion of e-commerce, because what we have seen with the COVID pandemic in 2020 is that some of the changes that happened are not going to be completely reversed. We are going to see people adapt and stay with it at least for the next 5 years. So we'll see businesses change. We'll see more people working remotely, and there will be more investment in fintech. We see more investment in fintechs, and there will be more support from the regulatory angle, which we're already seeing right now in terms of the blockchain framework. We've seen the open banking framework. You're going to see the regulators supporting the stakeholders. You're going to see governments coming in, and we're going to see more funding, and we're going to see more participation, especially at the bottom of the pyramid, which has always been a struggle because of the financial exclusion indicators that we are reporting as at today. We see some improvement. I think 2021 is going to look good. I'm not saying for the economy overall, but at least for fintech and for digital.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here with you. You know, Fintech Association of Nigeria is actually an association which represents the ecosystem of the fintech world. We have over 200 members, corporates, fintechs, lawyers, literally everyone in the fintech world. And if you only need to cast your mind back to 2019, everybody was talking about digital transformation, everybody was talking about disruption and all whatnot, really. When you fast forward into 2020, you know, then people were talking, by April, May, people were saying in a post-COVID world. I think it's clear to everybody we're now in a co-COVID world. Yeah, it's not going anywhere soon. You know, we have to live with it, we have to survive it, we have to overcome it, and more importantly, we have to thrive in it as a really. And how better to thrive than technology? And one word, out of many words that we've all come to get used to in 2020, has to be one that is called digital acceleration. There's no organization now that should be transforming. You know, if you've not transformed, then there's a problem. You really now need to be racing with your competitors, racing to provide new services as well. And there's no better opportunity for fintechs at this time in Nigeria. This is one revolution. People say we're in the fourth industrial revolution. It is one revolution that is happening everywhere in the world at the same time. You only need to cast your mind back to first, second, and third. It happens in some far further parts of the world. They use it, perfect the technology, then it starts being exported. So it's a huge opportunity. You only have to look at it from an economic perspective. You know, we're creating jobs phenomenally within the country. I mean, you said earlier, 14% of our GDP is now in the tech world. And you can take countries like India, countries like China, and see the proportion that technology has to play in those industries as well. I mean, there's a huge opportunity really to create new employment, to reskill, to unskill and reskill, so to speak, really. And you can see again what the impact of that will be on our growth, GTB, youth unemployment, and in fact, adult unemployment as well. Now, the creativity of our country, of our people, of our country, I mean, has no bounds, really. I mean, you can see how we transformed the film industry, you know, literally using naira, you know, small amounts of naira, producing, you know, engaging products. They may not have the same wow razzmatazz, but they were equally as engaging as those produced, far off with multi-million-dollar. The same thing goes for the tech industry. You know, we're beginning to produce. We produce our first unicorn, and the industry is growing. So it's a fantastic time to be in FinTech Nigeria. And what we try to do is to represent the membership, you know, to accelerate the growth of FinTechs in Nigeria. And when I use the word FinTech, I'm not talking about payments. Everybody thinks FinTech, financial technology. I'm talking about all the various variants of tech, but all encompassing under FinTech. So agri-tech, reg-tech, you know, it doesn't matter what tech you want to be, meditech, you know, that's really part of that ecosystem to basically accelerate the development. And by acceleration, we're talking about understanding the challenges facing FinTechs in terms of regulation, in terms of funding, you know, in terms of access to data and all of those stuff really. You know, another thing we do is to connect. That's create the partnerships, you know, create the supply and demand, people who can provide support, assistance, training, knowledge, you know, skills gap and all of those stuff. And the third theme which we focus on is advocate. And in the advocate theme, you know, we're working with regulators, in some cases even providing roadmaps for regulators, you know, to actually drive as well. So it's really an exciting time to be in FinTech. Yes, I mean, clearly digital acceleration has to be a main key theme of what we're doing. And by digital acceleration, it covers many tentacles, really. You know, I mentioned three, you know, accelerate, connect, advocate. It's about building skills. It's about deepening the skills in the market. It's about developing stronger FinTech ecosystem, which actually enables Nigeria to produce our first sets of unicorns, really. It's about making sure that we create platforms that allow more local investment. A lot of the investment in FinTechs today, in fact, more than 90% is actually from foreign investors. And that is great. It's an ecosystem that is global. But it is, why would it not even be better when we start getting Nigerian investors back in Nigerian solutions, which can scale up for 206 million people we have, and indeed across Africa and the world, as we're seeing in some cases. So yes, that's going to be a major thing. So part of the collaboration is extremely key. And you can see from the panel we put together today, it's a very, very diverse panel, which has government, FinTechs, bankers, you know, and it's not about, a cutthroat competition, it's co-opetition, basically. So that is an extremely key part of our theme. You know, if you only need to cast your mind back 3-4 years ago, the whole world thought FinTechs were going to displace financial services. I think right now everybody realizes that, hang on, maybe FinTechs and banks are going to coexist, you know, and actually find new ways to provide, you know, engaging, endearing services to customers, really. No, the new world is now looking at big techs and saying, you know, what part is big tech playing in all of this? So collaboration has to remain a major, major theme. And indeed, that's one of the pillars of Fintech Association, really, that, you know, it's there to support the ecosystem, to drive the ecosystem and grow, if you like, bake a bigger cake, you know, that everybody can take a bigger chunk of, so to speak. Or even a smaller chunk of a bigger cake is bigger than one small cake on your own, so to speak.
2021 will be the year of digital acceleration for FinTech Nigeria, and this should lead to unlocking new opportunities and expanding the frontiers from payments to health tech, insurtech, EdTech, virtual platforms, RegTech, among other collaborations, effective regulations, and necessary supporting infrastructures.